Another difficult conflict going on in the world is the war in Ukraine. What do you think about the Russian invasion of Ukraine in February 2022?
I don't pretend to be an expert on this issue. I think you probably know more about this than I do, just from the brief conversation we had before we started filming. My view as a general observer of geopolitics and the way that this part of the world has related to American presidents over the last several, cycles, is I don't think it's controversial to say that this was a war of aggression, an invasion of aggression, an act of aggression by Vladimir Putin. I do believe that if Trump had been reelected, Putin may have seen himself as having other tools with which to try to expand influence that may have been different than geographic pursuits. But we don't know that for sure. I also have a really hard time imagining what the end of this looks like. And that's very scary because sometimes the most benign end seems to be that Putin ends up out of power, either through no longer being alive or deposed in some way. It doesn't feel like that latter is super likely. The former, there's reports about his health. I don't know how accurate they are. It's just hard to imagine a face-saving exit that is going to be even remotely, what's the word? It's not even a question of acceptable. Just it's not satisfying either. Just not tragic, I guess, is what I'm looking for.
In terms of Putin speaking to the Russian people and being able to figure out what to say, what kind of narrative to say, why this war made sense.
Yes.
The same on the Ukrainian side, to figure out how to exit this war.
Yes. I mean, to some degree, it requires Russian troops leaving Ukraine, and that is somewhat under the control. I mean, of course, it's not up to Ukraine whether the initiative continues, but what I am not thrilled with are some of the reflexive, if Trump had been in power instead of Joe Biden, a lot of the reflexive comments about, if you say Ukraine is just acting defensively, you're supporting neo-Nazis, or some of these things that have come out of the American Republican Party seem both wacky and like they would be saying completely different things if Trump happened to be in the Oval Office. They're really proxy attacks on Joe Biden.
Yeah. Well, that in some sense, Ukraine is also kind of political litmus test of how you speak about it. I think because of the huge amount of funding that's going from U.S. to Ukraine. Maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems to me that this topic has become politicized already.
100%. There are people like Marjorie Taylor Greene and others saying we should be doing nothing for Ukraine. Zelensky's a comedian, and we're supporting neo-Nazis. That's it. Full stop. And you either subscribe to that or you don't, and it very quickly becomes as partisan as so many other issues. And it's really the most disappointing thing is that some of these issues become incredibly